you're prone to be down in the dumps and tend towards depression, don't read the book of Ecclesiastes. It's not an upbeat book, or at least the beginning has a rather down perspective on things. It's a person by the name of Koheleth. Who's Koheleth? The name means an assembly leader, a church leader. And he's questioning the meaning of life. He's questioning, what's my existence all about? I work so hard, then when I die, I don't get to benefit any of the stuff I work for. I got to leave it to somebody else. Somebody else benefits from it, not me, Yet another who has not labored over it, he must leave his property. For this is vanity. Talks about how all his days are sorrow and grief, is his occupation. Even at night, his mind is at rest. This is a guy who's not at peace, is the description. And so we have to ponder, why is he unhappy? What's missing, perhaps, in his life? He's concerned about his possessions, kind of like the parable in the gospel. See the parallel? Who am I leaving all this stuff to? The young man or the person in the crowd comes up to Jesus, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me. So it's tied in. Today there's among the young we find that oftentimes they get depressed. They suffer, difficulties interacting with people. This is a lot of things. Sometimes it's not their fault that things were caused. They were isolated for a time. But the young people experience some difficulties. And you have to ask, well, what about circumstances, and why is this so? The young people, or let's say the young adults, are meeting in Rome right now. The Pope just had a mass with the young people from around the world. I invite you to go on YouTube or some other means to watch it. He's relating to 1 million or so young people who were meeting outside of Rome. And we have to find what all people are looking for. What's the meaning of our lives? And if we don't point, in the end, I'm going to summarize here, to Christ, because he's the answer. When Koheleth is looking for a meaning and purpose, if Christ isn't there, of course Christ didn't live at that time, but the answer is Christ to all of his questions and concerns and difficulties. You have to center your life on a goal, and that goal is heaven, and that's eternal life. And where do we get eternal life from? From Christ. He tells us, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So the answer is really Christ and what he has to offer us. And we need to keep that in perspective. After all, if you go to the second reading from St. Paul writing to the Colossians, what does he say? If you are raised with Christ, seek what is above. Seek what? Heavenly things, the eternal things. Seek what is above, where Christ is seated where? At the right hand of God. That's what we should be concerned about. Not all of the material things, the inheritance and all of that we have in this world, but be concerned about heavenly things. After all, the things of this world pass away. All of them. I was just in Europe, and I saw so many beautiful cathedrals and churches. That's one of the things I always gravitate to, because the cathedrals and the churches were the center of the people's lives, especially, the time of the Renaissance and all of the things around Europe that brought out the glory of God through art and music and culture. So I go to a cathedral and I look at this building, this massive structure, which is magnificent. It's so stately, and it draws your heart and your mind to God. And that was the center of the village or the town or the city. It was those beautiful churches that glorified God. But I had the thought, I was reading the readings ahead of time, this is all going to pass away, isn't it? No matter how beautiful they are and how much they are a tribute, or work that's intended to raise up our hearts and minds to God, they're going to pass away. And so will everything else that we see and do. The vacation itself that we may go on, it ends. Everything is fleeting. So what is the Scriptures trying to teach us? That we have to learn to let go of the things of this world. They're not the most important thing. Yes, we can enjoy them while we have them, but every one of us has to let go of it. We have to have a certain detachment from the things of the world. And Christ is trying to tell us that when he talks about this man in the parable. Notice his selfishness. I will say to myself, this is what I will do. I will do this for myself. As for you, you have so many things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry. You have a superabundance. You're doing very well. Well, how can I do even better? How can I keep and hold on to this? Wouldn't it be beautiful if somewhere along the line he would have a thought instead of asking himself, what should I do to help maybe those poor people in my area who don't have anything? How could I take what I have and share it with others to help them in some way, shape, or form? And Jesus doesn't condemn wealth itself. He condemns the person who's selfish and keeps it for himself and doesn't do anything to help anybody else. I'm going to rest, eat, drink, and be merry. But you fool! You're going to die this night. Where's all that stuff going to go now? Where's it all going to wind up? And that's a question for those people at his time, Jesus' time, and for us. We need to take it to heart. Because he speaks to us, too. I always say the Scriptures are not just for 2,000 years ago. They're ever alive. They teach us a lesson. What are our priorities? How do we live? Are we generous with what we have? Are we willing to share our resources? It's not about how big of a retirement fund can I have and how many things can I do when I retire, but how about, what have I done to store up treasure in heaven? You ever think about what's the treasure in heaven? How do we get that? And it's really tied into how much we love. The good that we do for others is the root of it all. How much can I, give it away or let go of it? Because in the end, I'm going to have to do that anyway. But how about if along the way, I helped an awful lot of people and I was able to share what I had with somebody else? Because Jesus teaches us the two greatest commandments. Love your Lord, your God. Yeah, okay. How do I do that practically? I give to God what belongs to God. It's time, our treasure at times to support. It's your money that supports churches. These don't exist because I stand up here and preach. They exist because you put money in the collection basket, right? That's how it works. And all of the other things to honor God. But then what do we do for our neighbor? Love your neighbor as yourself. It includes your family. It doesn't say you can't go on vacation. Doesn't say you can't have nice things. But don't be attached to them. You're going to have to let go of them. You're going to have to let go of everything. Now, when I prepare homilies, I always, do a little bit of homework, reference. I read commentaries. And I just finished reading yesterday a commentary on this gospel. And I want to share it with you verbatim. I don't normally directly quote from the books. But I said, this one hit me between the eyes. And it probably will for most of us, if we're honest. And we think about our life, our society, how we live. This is from Dr. John Bergsma, who teaches at Steubenville University and is part of the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology. He's put out a book of commentaries on the Scriptures, and I reference this about this gospel. The American dream is fundamentally incompatible with the gospel of Jesus Christ. A life whose goal is 2.5 children and a spacious ranch house in the suburbs looks essentially different from a life whose goal is eternal communion with Jesus Christ and his saints. Bourgeois Christianity that regards more than 2 kids as unrealistic because they are too expensive, that thinks $20 in the offering plate is a favor to God, that can't be bothered with a homily longer than 10 minutes or a mass longer than 60, that is repulsed by the idea of the religious life for oneself or one's children, is really a form of unconverted Christianity, which is no Christianity at all. Something to think about for all of us. You know, we may treasure that I've done all this, I've accumulated these things, I've gotten these degrees. None of it's getting anybody into heaven unless we do good, unless we use our gifts and our talents to glorify God and to help others. That's the goal. Jesus gave us the 2 great commandments. And one of the things that is a treasure that we should always understand, that although I said I've seen so many beautiful buildings and cathedrals and magnificent things, you know what I look for also in every church? The Blessed Sacrament. Find the chapel, find the tabernacle where the Blessed Sacrament is. Spend time with Jesus. Isn't he the greatest gift that we're ever given? The Eucharist. God himself comes out of heaven to be on our altar, that we can receive God himself to feed us food for the journey of life so that we get to eternal life. How about all the sacraments of the church? Aren't they meant to help us to get to heaven? And if we don't get to heaven, if we miss on that, we can accumulate everything in the world, but you don't get to heaven, you've lost it all. Eternity is forever. Heaven with God is what was meant for our destiny. And if we don't have the right priorities in life, we aren't going to get there by bribing God. Look, I did all this. Look at the degrees I have. No, he's going to look at, this is how I loved in this world, how I helped others, how I shown good, an example to others to follow. That's going to get us to heaven. When we let go of the things of this world, then we start to understand they're not the most important things. The things of God are, and they're meant to get us to heaven. May God bless you.